Hi. In case this is the first video of mine that you've come across, my name is Cameron, and this video you're watching is number 10 in a series called Connect the Dots, where I discuss money, power, and politics and how those things impact you. I'm currently working on my PhD in biomedical engineering, but I make these videos to be the change I wish to see in the world and to contribute to us, you and me, growing our civic knowledge together. I try to do two things with these videos. First, I try to relay information that anyone watching will find interesting, whether you consider yourself to be a political junkie or someone who doesn't care about politics at all. And second, I try to keep things simple and explain things in a way that anyone watching can understand, regardless of age, education, or amount of background knowledge. So, with that out of the way, we will dive into what democracy is, how you should be thinking about it, and why it should matter to you. But first, we have to talk about power. This video series is about money, power, and politics, and I've explained the money and the politics, yet I haven't really talked about power. But power is what this whole series boils down to. I need you to understand that because power is the thing that ties everything we've discussed thus far, the money, the politics, together. Like I mentioned about capitalism in my last video, we rarely sit around thinking about the definition of power, what it means tangibly. Instead, we usually just use and think of it in a descriptive sense. We know when someone or something is powerful, but if I asked you to define power, how would you define it? If you want to pause the video to think about it more before I give you my answer, here's your chance. For the sake of this video series, the way I'm defining power is the ability to control your environment. An environment in this case can mean anything. It can be the physical world, economic outcomes, it could be other people, or even your own mind. Whenever you hear the word power, that's what I want you to envision. Throughout this series, I've been analyzing the systems we live in through the lens of power, even though this is the first time I'm making that connection concretely. Everything we've talked about has been about power. So that is a lens that I want you to understand things through. For instance, when I showed in the last video the trend of the top 1% increasing their share of the wealth from 22 to 33% over the last few decades, you can replace wealth with power, specifically economic power. They mean the exact same thing, but it feels different hearing that the bottom 90% of the US population are losing their shares of the wealth versus hearing that we are slowly losing our power. And a major point of this series is to emphasize that power in one domain doesn't stay boxed into that domain. Our systems are all interconnected, which allows power to flow between them. For instance, regardless of how you view him, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, is a perfect case study of how economic power and political power can be translated into each other pretty seamlessly. So when you think of power and when you think of your own power, how much you are able to exert control over your environment, over your life, think of the total amount of power in all the interconnected domains. Because while losing economic power chips away at our total power, it is not the only power that we hold and therefore should care about losing.